I'm fully prepared with everything I need for the Jay-Z documentary. The moment he sent that legal letter, I knew I had to let the world see who he really is. He and Diddy are cut from the same cloth. He just hides his arrogance and control behind a cleaner image. Our feud has lasted 20 years, and I know better than anyone what he's done in the shadows. I even suspect that so-called funeral bouquet wasn't Diddy's idea at all, but Jay-Z acting on his behalf. Back when Nicki Minaj posted that video of him wearing a pink wig, all I did was repost it, and he got so nervous he had his lawyers threaten me. In 2015, Nicki worked her ass off helping him build his platform, and he allegedly pocketed her $7.9 million in royalties. And then there's his fingerprints all over key incidents through the years, whether it's the elevator footage or the guest list at Diddy's parties. He was involved, clearly, but somehow he always walks away untouched. That's what he's best at, pulling strings behind the scenes while pretending to be spotless in public. And now that a corner of the darkness has been ripped open, I'm not stopping. Everything my team and I are doing isn't about attacking anyone. It's about making sure the truth can't be buried by him ever again.
If he ain't answering the phone?
He ain't answering the motherfucking phone.
Yeah, it's like this, like
We had a black billionaire's lunch.
black excellence. They're sitting there like, yeah. It's a billionaire brunch.
Oh,
Like,
I hate you, man.
And we here together, and we're gonna keep staying together. We getting tighter.
unaware of anything going on here. This is the one time I'm gonna be with you this year. Yo, I feel like I'm normal again. Get me out of here.
Jay-Z is now facing intensifying scrutiny as reports claim that alleged private exchanges between him and Sean Diddy Combs have entered the public sphere, igniting a firestorm of online reaction. The renewed attention has thrust Jay-Z into an unforgiving spotlight, reviving long-standing speculation about his ties to Diddy and reopening controversies many believed were long settled. As these claims continue to circulate, familiar narratives are being re-examined, public debate is accelerating, and pressure is mounting rapidly, creating a high-stakes moment that could challenge Jay-Z's reputation and influence like never before.
Carter aided and abetted or was directly involved. It's about to get real tense, and there's a lot of girls and boys who are still.
Interview 2. In earlier interviews, 50 Cent made it clear that he intentionally kept his distance from Diddy's inner circle, explaining that certain invitations and the overall atmosphere immediately raised red flags. Those early warning signs, he says, were enough for him to draw a firm line and walk away. That deliberate separation is precisely why, today, 50 feels free to speak without hesitation or fear. When the allegations eventually surfaced, he insisted that he learned about them the same way the public did, through media reports. And while the claims were undeniably serious, 50 emphasized that none of it shocked him, only reinforcing his long-standing belief that staying removed from that world was the right decision all along.
Jaguar Wright explained that Jay-Z is worse than Diddy. She explained how Jay-Z has done worse things than what Diddy did to Cassie to other females. And she said that she has the scars to prove it. She alleged that at one time Jay-Z attacked her and got it on film like Diddy did. And she alleged that this is why Jay-Z is totally pulling away from Diddy and you don't see him around. And it's been alleged for quite a while that Jay-Z is pulling away from Diddy because he doesn't want himself caught in the crossfire. I mean, you even have 50 Cent at this point talking about how Jay-Z is in hiding while this whole Diddy thing blows over. And you even have these accusations of Jay-Z being responsible for what happened to Cassie White. So I'm going to go ahead and roll you guys this clip of everything that Jag had to say about Jay-Z being worse than Diddy, and you guys let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.
Sean Carter is just as bad as the diddler. And I know that for a fact. I got the scars to prove it. You want to know what a box cutter feels like going into your skin and ripping you? I can tell you how it feels. Y'all ain't seen shit yet. That Cassie shit, that's nothing. I'm saying Sean Carter remembers everything he did to me and he's got it on tape. Just like Diddy. And they're going to be crazy. It's going to be the women that give them in the end.
Interview 3. As the investigation expanded, attention increasingly shifted toward Jay-Z, with critics scrutinizing his silence as developments surrounding Diddy continued to escalate. That restraint only fueled public curiosity, sparking speculation that his team may have been bracing for potential reputational fallout and quietly working to stay ahead of the narrative. Even in the absence of formal action, concern grew that the impact was already taking hold. Amplified by social media, pressure mounted rapidly, turning rumors into momentum, assumptions into headlines, and uncertainty into a fast-moving force that made the consequences feel sudden and unavoidable.
Jay-Z's accuser is saying that even though she dropped the lawsuit, she still stands by what she says, and she only dropped it because of harassment and the fact that she's terrified of Jay-Z. She says that Jay-Z is allegedly bullying her into saying that her accusations were false. In fact, in new legal documents, she is claiming that she was recently approached outside of her home and cornered by two people who told her they were investigators working for one of Jay-Z's lawyers. She claims they tried to get her to sign an affidavit stating that her art claims against Jay-Z were false, but she refused. Jane Doe also claims the alleged investigators asked her if her attorney, Tony Busby, sought her out as a client and offered her money to pursue false claims against Jay-Z, two allegations she says she denied. He says this alleged confrontation left her intimidated and terrified, wondering how they found her when her identity had remained anonymous in media reports and legal proceedings. He also claims that her parents were approached by two investigators asking similar questions about Busby and her R story. In the new documents, she reveals she decided to drop the claim because she was frightened by the reaction from Jay-Z and his supporters. He says she feared she would be publicly outed and subjected to.
Interview 4. Industry insiders have warned that even a single serious investigation could send shockwaves far beyond Diddy himself, potentially impacting anyone perceived as closely connected to him. That's why many believe 50 Cent's documentary carries such weight, because it doesn't focus on one individual, but instead frames a broader examination of how power operates behind the scenes. It raises uncomfortable questions about who held influence, who may have known more than they admitted, and how accountability can rapidly expand once real scrutiny begins. Observers have also questioned how Diddy managed to remain shielded for so long, with some pointing to a web of powerful relationships and tightly controlled narratives that kept damaging rumors at bay. As speculation intensified, reports began circulating that Diddy may be engaging with authorities in an effort to protect his position, a development that, according to unconfirmed claims, could involve sharing information about others within his circle. If true, that possibility has sent fresh waves of unease through the industry, signaling that the fallout may be far from over.
But the only thing I'm interested in him talking about is everything he knows about Kathy Coriana White. See, I know you know what happened to Corey. Diddy, I know that. You and Jay-Z down in Vegas at Tao with Claudia. Why don't you just talk about Kathy? That might help. That might help a lot. Kathy Coriana White, Jay-Z's pregnant mistress, who died 24 hours after she announced that she was going public with their relationship and the baby while he was married to Beyonce. Was it an aneurysm, Diddy? Or are you the one who paid the same coroner that you...
Interview 5. With the documentary now officially released, it's clear this story is no longer confined to the past. It's actively shaping what happens next. Each new revelation intensifies scrutiny on those who remained silent, and Jay-Z is increasingly drawn into that spotlight. The attention carries weight because his history with Diddy spans decades, making claims of complete distance harder for critics to accept. That tension escalated when Gene Deal publicly challenged statements from Jay-Z's legal team, disputing assertions that their relationship was minimal and arguing that such claims don't align with what many industry insiders say they witnessed over the years. As perspectives grow louder and timelines are re-examined, pressure continues to mount, turning once muted associations into unresolved questions that refuse to fade.
How close was Diddy and Jay-Z? They was close enough that they wasn't playing basketball, they wasn't playing baseball, they wasn't playing football, and they wasn't playing hockey or soccer for Diddy to come on stage, pat him on his ass, and then make the statement to people in the world that can't nobody call me Sean but Jay-Z. Now, I don't know what kind of statement, and I can't say, I wish I could say half a homo, but I know I can't say it, but I don't know what kind of half a homo that is. And you trying to say that you're not close to somebody. You coming on stage, patting them on their ass, and then you making a broad statement to the public, can't nobody call me Sean but Sean Carter. And I heard Jay-Z said the same thing about them. But they were so close that they had matching white girls together. Because when they used to see each other, they used to say, yo, how your skinny white girl doing? He'd be like, yo, how your skinny white girl doing? So I guess that's a certain type of closeness.
I ain't know anything about that, man. I ain't know about, Jay touching his, ass. I got to go see the video. I ain't hear about that.
Come on, man. Everybody's seen that. 50 even pointed it out. Excuse me. When they was in ATL on stage. Remember when 50 bum rushed the stage with them?
Yeah, I think I recall that.
When Puff came on stage, first thing he did was pat Jay-Z on that. But I forgot. That's your favorite rapper.
Hey, him and Pac is 1A, 1B. But what's your issue with Jay, man? I didn't know you had an issue with him.
I'm never a fan of somebody that I was on.
Interview 6. According to Gene Deal, the comfort and familiarity between Jay-Z and Diddy spoke louder than words ever could, signaling a bond he believes ran far deeper than publicly acknowledged. One moment he frequently references occurred at a show in Atlanta, where Diddy invited Jay-Z on stage. The ease and chemistry between them were unmistakable, impossible for fans to overlook. That clip later resurfaced and gained renewed traction after 50 Cent highlighted it, keeping the moment in constant online circulation. When asked whether his comments were driven by personal resentment, Gene dismissed the idea outright, stressing that it had nothing to do with loyalty or bias. He pointed to a past disagreement in which tensions briefly flared, only for Jay-Z to seemingly move past it without concern. Gene described this as typical behavior among those at the highest levels, individuals who navigate intense situations, generate friction, and then continue forward unaffected, operating in a world far removed from everyday experience.
That's how these guys are, man. They'll cause situations and cause problems, and then they'll forget what they've done because they're on a whole nother atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? A lot of shit that he did, you got to understand, now he'll say that they're kids because he's raising kids of his own. You understand? But how would you like it that if Blue Ivory, 15, 16 years old, 17, 18 years old, dating a in his early 30s? You're not going to go for that. No matter what she came through in Hollywood. But you got to understand, guys who was around there, we didn't know Jay-Z them ages. We didn't know these cats' age. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't having no beards and nothing like that. They was wearing low cuts. You understand? Clean face. I would have never believed when Jay was coming around the block scooping up the young girls and stuff like that, that he was 30 years old. You know, if they 17, 18, 16 years old and they 22, you thinking they 22, 23, something like that, 24 years old, they mom and them need to check them. They daddy and them need to check them. But that's not that far off. But for somebody to be 30 years old in their 30s and they dealing with kids 16 years old, 17, 18 years, now that's a problem. That's an issue. And now he see that because he's raising kids. And he got a young daughter. I think he got another daughter that he didn't claim, and now he claiming them. These cats was doing a whole lot of stuff that people in the industry won't speak on. And then now that you're speaking on it and it's becoming where is that you can get on YouTube and you could talk about this shit and say what you seen or say what you heard, you understand, or what you know. Some people look at it being a problem. But these cats ain't street cats. They entertain us.
Interview 7. Dame Dash, once regarded as Jay-Z's closest business partner, has now weighed in on the growing storm surrounding him. And what struck him most wasn't just the allegations themselves, but the overwhelming force of the public response. Dame pointed out that in all his years watching Jay-Z navigate controversy, he has never seen him subjected to this level of scrutiny. For decades, Jay-Z's influence placed him in a position many viewed as virtually untouchable, particularly within mainstream media. But Dame suggests that perception is now beginning to crack. Long-standing layers of protection appear to be eroding, and Jay-Z is facing a degree of public examination rarely applied to figures of his stature. It's a striking shift, one that serves as a powerful reminder that when the spotlight intensifies, even the most influential names are no longer immune.
It's odd to see him in that, in that getting looked at in that way by white people. Like Jay does, yeah, like I hope that shit didn't happen, but I'm like, damn, they turned the world real. Like people on a certain level have been fucking with him a certain way where he couldn't do no wrong for like 25 years straight. This is the first time he's not getting a pass with white media. Like he can control black media because a lot of them either work or do business with him. But like, ring champs can't get him out of this one, and neither can Charlemagne, because those are the guys that hold him down no matter what he do anyway. So he got to get to People Magazine and Entertainment Tonight right now because they on his head. But the question is why? Like why now? Because for me, I'd be like, yo, that's so ridiculous. Yo, take that to trial. You're not gonna win. Let's get a deposition or something. So I don't know why they on his head so much. Pause. But I never seen him, under this. I never seen him in this position to have to explain himself. Pause.
How you feel about the statement he came out with?
I mean, I didn't hear him say anything. I heard a piece of, like I said, I'm doing an interview, so I talk. I thought it was long. For a statement, I thought it was long, pause. But, I think right now, his silence is the worst thing for him. If he is innocent, he needs to let people ask him questions, and he needs to be able to say his side of the story.
Interview 8. What struck Dame most was seeing Jay-Z in an unfamiliar position, guarded, reactive, and under sustained pressure, a reality rarely witnessed outside a handful of isolated moments throughout his career. For decades, Jay-Z has largely avoided having to publicly explain himself, which makes the intensity of the current scrutiny especially striking. At the same time, questions continue to surface about why 50 Cent appears so relentless in challenging him, with the Diddy connection alone not fully explaining the tension. Tony Yayo offered deeper context, explaining that the friction between 50 and Jay-Z stretches back years, shaped by rivalry, fractured loyalty, and unresolved competition. Hip-hop has always thrived on clashes of ego, conflicts emerge, lines are drawn, and growth is sometimes possible. Yayo pointed to a recent moment where 50 shared the stage with Dr. Dre alongside Cameron, signaling that some old issues can be put aside. But Cameron himself has openly suggested that Jay-Z prioritizes business over culture, a sentiment Yayo echoed, noting that Jay-Z is frequently seen at high-level corporate gatherings while often absent from hip-hop moments that carry deep significance for artists like 50. That imbalance continues to raise difficult questions about priorities, alignment, and where loyalty truly lies.
Like, I don't think I would have said that he didn't know Puff at all or wasn't his friend. I thought that was a little extreme. I thought that was the wrong choice of words. I think that's going to trigger a lot of backlash. But the thing is, I never seen him get backlash at all. So that's what I'm saying. Now he getting backlash. Like, when did you know Jay-Z to be on his heels other than when he got beat up in the elevator? But that was nothing. But I've never seen him under the fire ever. Not in a long time. Not like, I've never seen people on his head like that, Paul. Ever.
Yeah, this might be my first time seeing people come at him like this.
Like I said, I didn't hear him say anything. Like, I'm not some white man speaking for another black man doesn't add up. It just doesn't work like that. Like, he doesn't know what to say on Jay's behalf. Jay would have to say that. So if he instructed him to say that, like, you don't even know if Jay told him to say that. He could have got off the stage and they was like, "Why'd you say that?" He was like, "I had to." You know, like, he probably said it because homeboy wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? So who knows? Like, I didn't hear him say anything. I haven't heard Jay say a word yet. Have you?
Nah, I haven't heard him say anything.
There it is. So y'all going by a piece of paper with words? Don't get caught up in that. I have not heard him say one thing yet. You know? Until I see him speak, he hasn't spoke to me. That's why I said I don't think he did not say that. His lawyer said it. So what else is a lawyer gonna say?
In Interview 9, Tony Yayo highlighted a defining contrast between Jay-Z and 50 Cent, distance versus accessibility. He explained that while Jay-Z operates at the highest levels of power and influence, he maintains a deliberate separation from those spaces he's outgrown. In contrast, 50 Cent, despite wielding comparable influence, remains visible, engaged, and fiercely loyal to the people who supported him from the start. Yayo stressed that success should never erase one's foundation, a principle he believes 50 consistently lives by. One moment that stayed with him was the Super Bowl halftime show controversy, where reports suggested Jay-Z initially resisted including 50 Cent. According to Yayo, the issue was only resolved after Eminem made it clear he wouldn't perform without him. To Yayo, that moment went far beyond scheduling or branding. It felt personal, revealing long-standing tension and a quiet rivalry that continues to shape the complex dynamic between two of hip-hop's most powerful figures.
There was this one part where 50 was talking, and he was saying, yeah, when Yayo was locked up, every G-Unit show, we actually put aside the money.
Bro, I told
for him,
you.
And he had he's like, Yayo had like $1 million.
Right. I just told you when I came out of my building, I see the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
There was no way I was getting shot there. And this is what I kind of tell you is like, when we was talking about stacks with the Porsche, 50's not going to let you say, get the Porsche. He going to say, let's get him out the hood first. You know, if the money's there, but the money has to be there for you to live like that. The money's there. 50 didn't have to do that. Rest in peace to Hervé from Interscope, because he always said to me, man, 50 do more for you than any artist, than anybody does for their artist. More than Jay-Z.
Interview 10. Over time, reports suggest the once solid alliance between Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs began to fracture, with insiders pointing to growing trust issues and rising uncertainty over where loyalties would land if circumstances turned unfavorable. As pressure intensified, speculation swirled about quiet maneuvering behind the scenes. That conversation escalated further when Jaguar Wright publicly alleged that Jay-Z may have played a role in Diddy's decline, claims that remain unproven, disputed, and heavily debated. Yet regardless of their validity, the moment underscores a larger reality. At the highest levels of power, relationships are rarely permanent. Alliances can shift overnight. Loyalty is often conditional, and influence can collapse without warning, revealing just how fragile even the strongest connections can be.
He made a statement recently. He said that Jay-Z loves money more than hip-hop. And he pointed out that Jay-Z performed at Tom Brady's Hall of Fame ceremony, but he didn't perform in any Hip Hop 50 events.
I mean, Jay-Z's on a whole nother level. Like, I mean, you know, he's like, but you know what I like about 50? 50's on a whole nother level, but he's still approachable. You still get to meet the people and you know, Jay got to remember the people that made him. You know, I'm not saying I don't got respect. I respect Jay-Z, 50, used to respect, you know, Diddy, but all that crazy shit going on. But, you know, I always respected him because I looked at, for New York, those were like the, you know, the guys. You know what I'm saying? The guys with the most money and the most influence. So with Jay is like, when the last time you haven't seen Jay. So I think people are just going to say that. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I mean, Jay, you know, you got to remember, he didn't want 50 at the Super Bowl. That was crazy. I'm like,
wait, Jay didn't want 50 at the Super Bowl?
You didn't know that? Yeah, he didn't want.
I remember Eminem pushed for it.
That was some hater shit. Yeah,
I remember Eminem was like, I'm not going to do it unless 50 does it. I heard that.
Yeah,
but I didn't know that Jay was trying to stop it.
I don't think Jay. I don't know. 50 never told me that, but I don't think Jay wanted them there. I don't know
because of what some of the.
I mean, you know, it's competition. You got to think. 50 always been competition for Jay. Remember, I'm about $1. What the fuck is 50 Cent?
That was a long time ago.
That was what 9. What was that? 9?
But after that, they did a song together. Remember the whole
50 was always competition for niggas. Then remember Jay said, yo, 50's coming. He told Siegel and them, and Memphis Bleak and all them.
Yeah.
And come on, 50's like, he's on a whole nother level. You got to remember, he came after niggas. He came after Jay and Rockefeller. G-Unit came. And people might shit on G-Unit, but with Eminem, Dr. Dre, 50 Cent, nobody has outsold.
Interview 11. Roger Bonds, Diddy's former head of security, offered an insider perspective that added further complexity to the story. While he observed Jay-Z and Diddy crossing paths and interacting, Bonds never perceived their relationship as genuinely close. From his vantage point, Diddy seemed to overestimate the depth of their connection, highlighting a striking gap between perception and reality. It's a telling example of how, at the highest levels of influence, public appearances and assumed alliances can create powerful illusions, ones that rarely reflect what is actually happening behind the scenes.
He says to people, he goes into boardrooms and says to people, which I will never say, is he says, it's important for me to be a billionaire, you know, because black people need to be billionaires. And why does specifically he, at that time, I've had this conversation with white money people when they go, you know, it's important that Jay-Z becomes a billionaire. And I go, why? And they said, because he wants to open up a casino. You know, he wants to open up this. He should have an alcoholic brand. He needs to have a casino. He needs to have this. And you're like, why the fuck does anybody need a casino? Like another fucking casino
money
in this world.
And it makes it very possible for people to launder money all day.
Yeah. So like, why, even the fact that you want to become so powerful, then you're not saying because he needs to build schools for black people in black neighborhoods. It's because he wanted to build casinos for black people.
For them to keep wasting their money and then for him to keep giving them overpriced merchandise. It's a rat trap.
Yeah.
All of it is. The sad part is that hip hop has now turned itself over to this greed machine and doesn't realize it's time.
Interview 12. Those within Diddy's inner circle often observed that he consistently went out of his way to support Jay-Z, offering visible loyalty that, in their view, was rarely reciprocated. This pattern exposed a clear imbalance in their relationship, illustrating how loyalty at the highest levels of influence can sometimes flow in only one direction. Behind the polished public image, a different reality was at play. One where perceived alliances and actual support didn't always align.
Why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time. Like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
So who's next?
Y'all don't see the lineup?
Yeah, we see the lineup. I'm just waiting to see who's next.
Jay-Z is setting Diddy up. Why is everyone having such a hard time He ain't doing different. He lined up D. Haven, stole his life and identity. He lined up Big L, stole his life and identity. He lined up Dame Dash, stole his life, identity, and took his love. Lined up R. Kelly. He wants to be the one.
Yeah, shout out D. Haven. He actually hit us up, wanted to tell this story.
You need to talk to D. Haven.
Yeah, we need to talk to him.
I told you that last year when I put you on the phone.
Interview 13. From his perspective, Jay-Z and Diddy were never the close allies the public assumed them to be. While they navigated the same elite circles and leveraged shared influence and opportunities, true loyalty between them was never present. Over time, these underlying fractures became impossible to ignore, revealing a relationship far more complicated and fragile than appearances suggested.